What were his qualities, do you think, Kieren's mainly?
Horses ran for Kieren.
Reams of first wins it.
He was the deepest thinker and planner. And people didn't realise that. He was totally dedicated.
Ram Ruler comes home to give Henry Cecil his 6 overs. Ram Ruler the winner.
He usually didn't make any difference. He was as hard as nails, but a serious talent and the form. How a race would be won.
But the winner of the Derby is Northlight.
And that'll be there, and I'll sit there on his backside. Bam, bam, bam.
Ouija board ridden by Kieren Fallon.
So clear thinking, and people thought, oh, Kieren, he's just a genius on a horse. Deeply thought through.
One of the absolute greats. Particularly special around Epsom. Here he is with a big smile on his face, watching some of those memories. Kieren, what was it like watching that?
Can we put him on again? No, it is great to look back.
Pretty special. And hearing Sir Michael say those things about you, you know.
I couldn't actually hear, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
He said you were a deep thinker. Horses ran for you. You knew everything about where a horse would be. He said you were hard as nails. You'd know how everything was positioned. I think he said it something along the lines of, this will be here, I'll sit here.
Yeah.
What was the secret then to all those successes at Epsom in particular?
I love my horses. I really, really love horses more than anything. You know, it's... I can't say that I can't get a bond when I have time. I love that. Well, years ago, I'd love a difficult horse and trying to master it to try and get it to switch off and kind of get it to like me. I mean, one of the first ones actually gave me a bad scar. It bolted with me at the head. It was a horse called a Big Star. And, you know, it's just something. And even today, you know, I ride a horse called Nation's Pride. I absolutely love him. And he would eat you, so he would if he got a chance.
Really?
Yeah, he's you know, he can be really nasty in the box. And I've been riding him now since he won in Dubai, or before he won in Dubai. And he you know, he tries to like you, but he can't because it's in him, you know what I mean? But he does try, and he nearly had me the other day for the first time. In a couple of months I was riding him, you know, he slung me around the box. Yeah. And he's never done it before, and you know, it's funny.
You're part of the Charlie Appleby team, as we know. You talk about Nation's Pride. We'll talk to you about some of Charlie's horses due to run at Epsom, but we love a bit of nostalgia here on the show. We'd like to go down memory lane. As you say, we can watch highlights of your rides all the time. And as I said in my intro, your wins at Epsom, the 3 Derbies, the 4 Oaks, the Coronation Cups, etc., they're just the tip of the iceberg in terms of your overall achievements. But you were special at Epsom. There was something that you had at Epsom that I suppose other people or racing fans recognised as being a little bit more like Leicester, being brilliant around Epsom. What was the secret of those successes at Epsom, do you think?
I'd have to say, by going to America, I got 6 months suspension when I was with Jack and Linda Ramsden.
Had you done something bad, was it? Was it the...
No, it wasn't bad. It was nothing. It was just today you get a slap in the wrist, but I got 6 months. And I went to California, went to Rodney Rash, and then I went to Bobby Frankel. And I was riding all their good horses, all the work. So I got my clock working well. And particularly at Epsom, you can go too quick. If you go too quick at Epsom, you can go to sleep at the back. I hate sitting at the back. I always like to be handy in a race, keeping it simple. But tracks like Epsom, it encouraged most jockeys to kick, especially down the hill, and be gone. Yeah. And if I went to the pace, like Stewie said, I knew where everyone wanted to be. When I was deep into my form, and I'd work out, and I'd have a fair idea, and I had a fair idea how Frankie rode, how Richard Hughes, Johnny, all the boys. They kind of had a pattern, you know. So.
And you altered, did you?
I'd have to hold it to how the race is going to be run. And if I, like, in particular, would just say Frankie, because Frankie was my biggest rider, and again, he had a clock better than anybody around the world. And I knew if he was the only one that had the speed, or maybe was going to be on the lead, and if I could see nothing around that would take him on, well, I'd know then that I had to be right behind him, or I'd say to him before I went out that, you know, I'm going to make the running here. And he'd be like, and I know he'd want to make the running. And I'd say, okay, you can make the running, but don't take the, you know, and then you have a chance. But if you didn't, then watching him towards the end when I'd retired, when I'd see him on the lead, and they're all sitting behind him, and he could, you know, I remember John Franklin saying once, he said, they're all dancing to his tune. You know, it was simple, really.
You didn't dance to anyone's tune, Kieren, as we all know. Oath was your first Derby winner for Henry Cecil, Sir Henry Cecil, as he was to become. In the thoroughbred corp colours, the white bridle to the outside. You were handy turning in here. Yeah,
I had a great position. The worst part was I never worried about any race. But I'd worry more about an odds-on in a cellar than I would in the big races. I was able to relax more for some reason. But I remember when the what-you-call-ems came out, when the draw came out, and I think I got drawn 1, and Willie Ryan said, "Oh, you're in the coffin box," and I didn't know he meant even in the coffin box. Well, that's obviously what they called it. But when I was sitting in the gate, I knew it was. I mean, I liked that draw. You know, because I could, it's all about getting that first chicane and to try and get back, because they go around there, and the ones in the middle, they get tight. The ones on the far side, they have to try and hold the position. They get, you know, I've seen so many horses lose races, that first little part of the race, and I was able to slow over, follow them along, clear run, and get over, and I got a pitch that I wanted, because he travelled for fun as well.
What was it like to win your first Derby?
A relief.
Relief?
A relief. And for some reason, I don't know what used to go through my head or whatever, but any of the big races I won, you know, you'd see, like Frankie loves to celebrate and get excited. I go, I've job done, you know. And then when you get home, obviously watch the replay. I could enjoy it then, but you know, then there was another race after the Derby and whatever, so on and so forth. I always had great rides, you know. But job done, I always thought, you know, to get done. Because if you don't, and if you ride a bad race or if you fail, you didn't get a second chance. You know, back then, if you like, when I rode Bossersham at Sandown.
The Eclipse,
yeah,
97. Oh, yeah. No.
And I hit a bump in the road, and I was getting sacked. I was gone, you know. Luckily, I think it was on a Tuesday, a July meeting in Newmarket, and I rode a 4-timer. Yeah. And that got me a little bit of extra time, and then. Yeah. But
I wasn't going to bring up Bossersham.
No, I don't mind bringing up Bossersham. Listen, it was one of them things. It was, which I hate these false rails. Yeah. You know, I think for one, it takes the art of race riding out of it. Listen, from a betting point of view and from a punter, they're great because it opens up. Mm. But when they came out first, I didn't agree with them. Another thing I don't agree with, coming up the centre of the racecourse. Yeah. Again. It opens it up for everybody.
Easy.
You know, but again, as I say, if you have a bet and your horse in behind, it opens up. It gives you a lot more chances than if they stay on the rail. You know, but that's the fun and the art of it.
Okay, so you mentioned obviously Bossersham, probably one of the days that you don't look back on fondly, understandably, but one I'm sure you should look back on. I hope you do. And I don't think it's recognised enough for being a brilliant ride was Chris Kinn's Derby win in 2003. I mean, lucky enough to speak to Sir Michael Stad about this, and he was effusive in his praise. Chris Kinn, trapped down on the rail in the yellow cap, hard at work coming for home. Talk me through what you're doing here.
I'll talk you through the race before this was at Chester.
Yes.
He showed nothing at home at all. I remember Sir Michael saying to me, he said, look at Kieren, he said, I'm going to run at Chester. There'll be no runners. And if you can get another ride in the race, I ended up getting on Big Bad Bob, who was on favourite. Fergal Lynch rode it, right?
Yeah.
He come winging by me, you know, it was impressive. Then he ended up jinking, going by the thing. I think Fergal was waving his whip, and he fell off it. But he was just a lazy horse, and he probably shouldn't have run in this race, because 2 days before the race, it didn't look like he was going to run. He had a foot injury, and like Stout, he was a genius. I mean, I've always said it. He was a one-off for me, and he got him there when he shouldn't even have been running, and he ended up winning. I don't think he'd done anything after, but I knew I had to save ground. There was no point you do it. Like, he wasn't good enough. Like, if I was riding a horse, like, not right, you can go where you want with him. You could go 10 wide with him or whatever. But these other horses that there's not a lot between, you have to save ground, and Epsom is very important to save ground, and you need to be handy. It's very hard to come from too far back. But he wasn't a superstar,
no.
But he was tough. He was tough, and he had a great trainer.
And also the same trainer produced North Light to win the following year. As you say, things rather smooth for him. We went from the Dante at York to this, and you were handy.
Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget the Dante, because trials for me are there for your horses usually, especially in particular Sir Michael. He'd only have them maybe 80%, maybe 85%. So he always leaves that bit. Obviously, the Derby's a target. But I went there, and didn't want him to have a hard race. I kind of eased down, and Frankie come late at me and nearly nicked it on the line. If he did, I wouldn't be riding in the Derby. I wouldn't even have rode him. It was stupid, really, but I don't know, stupid things. But this was a lovely horse. He was gentle giant. He had pace. You could put him anywhere. I mean, he was a big powerhouse. It was, you know, like, he suited me as well, because I like to ride deep, and I like to ride from behind the shoulder, especially then when the horses are getting tired and coming back. So if you see the difference in Yuzi style, you know?
Yeah.
Yuzi was a much more balanced, stylish rider. You know, he was something else.
This was obviously 2004 when Northlight won the Derby, the third of your Derby wins. Did you feel that you conquered Epsom? Because it's such a tricky track to ride. Did you feel that you...
Well, I'll be honest with you, I never found it a tricky track to ride. I mean, I thought, you go around Cattrick, them gaff tracks, you go around some of them tracks in Ireland, like Galway or Listowel, or, you know, Downpatrick. They're what you call tricky tracks. This is a beautiful track to ride. Especially if the horse, you need to travel. You need a well-balanced horse.
Yeah.
And no point in sending a horse there to be a big baby, because it'd be completely lost. Because you're racing on a camber then.
Yeah.
And I used to always, like, if I had a choice of going in or out, it would be always out.
Yeah.
And get a roll off the hill.
You rode 4 winners of the Oaks. I'm going to ask you which one is your favourite. I might guess which one. So Reims Averse, Ram Rumour, Ouija Board and Alexandrova were the 4 Oaks winners.
I know it's stupid. I love them all. You know,
Sure.
they were beautiful fillies, and they were. If you ride a good filly, it excites you. And Ram Rumour, she was small. She was tough as nails. She was no good at home, but she was tough as nails. God, she had a heart as big as a lion. Reims Averse, yeah, Reims Averse was classy. Reims Averse, oh, what a classy filly. I don't know what happened there after the Oaks, but she should never won the Oaks. She should be fortunate on Henry's other horse, knocked me down, turned me sideways. Luckily, I didn't panic, and I gave her a chance to get back, and she ended up winning well. But this filly was tough, Ram Rumour.
She won Ireland, she won the Yorkshire Oaks as well, didn't she?
I was playing golf with Jason Weaver when she won her maiden at Newmarket.
Yeah.
And he said, "This horse rides any good in the maiden?" I said, "Jason, she'll be up around Cattrick or Thirsk or somewhere." I said, "She's no good." Only because she couldn't pass a horse at home. And she went out and she ended up pissing up.
Wow.
And the rest is history, you know.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And Ouija board?
Oh, Ouija board. She took me around the world.
She was brilliant.
She was brilliant. And Ed Dunlap done a great job with her. Everywhere. She should have won back-to-back Breeders' Cups. I rode it the first year. Jerry Bailey rode it the second year. And Jerry Bailey got too far back. I think he got off Intercontinental. And Raphael Baharan rode her. He went up there, got a soft lead, and Jerry was too far back. I had to ride one of Aidan O'Brien's in the race. I rode Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
She was slow as a bow. But I was hoping she wouldn't run, but she did. And then the following year, obviously took Jerry Bailey off her and put Frankie on her. And there you go. But in Hong Kong, she was brilliant in Hong Kong as well, because I was locked up in Hong Kong. I didn't have anywhere to go, and she got me out of trouble. She was a little superstar.
Yeah. Kieren, this year, obviously part of the Charlie Appleby team, they've got two leading contenders for the race. Ruling Court, who won the 2,000 guineas going for the Derby, and Desert Flower, who won the 1,000 guineas going for the Derby. Ruling Court, what are the thoughts about him staying a mile and a half, handling that track after his guineas win?
I'll be honest with you, I think he was a breeze-up horse. He went to Sandown, and he won well at Sandown. Then he went, I think it was the Epsom at York.
Yeah.
I didn't know a whole lot about him. Charlie doesn't let me have much to do with the two-year-old.
Okay.
I'm used to the older horses or the good rides. He doesn't put me on. I think he said once that over 55, yeah, nobody, you can't be riding the yearlings. You know, he's a piss taker, Charlie is. But great guy to work for. He's fun. But my rides are all good rides, but I don't really have anything to do. That was and he was beaten in the Epsom, which we were surprised. But
just to jump in, I know people will be moaning, but Kieren can say what he wants to say, but we apologise if you're using that word. Not allowed, but those are the rules. But it's all right, Kieren. No. You carry on. I'm not offended.
He went to Dubai for the winter.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. He was
in Dubai.
In Dubai for the winter, yeah. But he was a difficult rider. His rider Michael Metcalf has done a brilliant job with him. You know, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, to do a good job." This horse was difficult, and now he's like a mouse. You know, really? Yeah, he's totally switched off. He was a good winner. He did like him in the Guineas. The 2 of ours, there wasn't a lot between the 2 of ours and the Guineas, you know. But as I said, he had a racecourse gallop, you know. But the horse is bred to stay, and I think Charlie has him where he wants him now. And it's all system go. The best trial over the years would always be by a mile the Guineas. Yeah.
What did you make of the Guineas?
I thought it was a good Guineas.
Do you think he was lucky to win and Field of Gold was unlucky not to win?
No, but I'd love him to ride Fields of Gold. I think William was brilliant when he kicked. I always say that the Rolly Mile is a really hard track to ride. And I remember someone saying to me, "You want to read Fred Archie's book?" When he was asked the hardest track in the country to ride, he said the Rolly Mile. I don't know if you knew that. But it is because no one went to kick and went to sit. If you sit too long and then you're asking to go down the hill, which I think Kieren Schumacher just for that stride got him beaten, I think. You know, he was going well. I think if he went with William, it would have been a different ball game, but it doesn't make a difference now. As I said, you know, but William was brilliant. And I think going into the Derby, you know, he has had plenty of time. He's totally switched off now. And the only worry I would have if it was a big field, a lot of deadwood in there, right? You know, and because he's going to have to switch him off. You know, you can't make a horse get a trip. He either gets it or he doesn't. And you're still going to have to. I would ride the same race. I'd want to be handy. I want to be, you know, we always called it lesser picking position, you know, and saving ground, and it opens up in the straight. Yeah. And you know, for all of us, I mean, we were hoping, we were flying. You know, I think Charlie's sitting second in the Trainers' Championship, and this would put him way up there.
And the filly, Desert Flower?
you know, I'm not going to say she will win because it's a race, and as you said, you know, Epsom is like. She is a very, very good filly. She's probably one of the smartest fillies I think we've seen for a long time. I'll never forget the first day I seen her when she was going to Newmarket, and she was a standout then. And the guy that rides her every morning is a South African guy. And I remember saying to him, I said, geez, I said, she's a beauty, isn't she? I said, will she win? He said, I don't think she'll win. I think she needs a trip.
Really? Okay. She's going to get one.
He got that bit right, but he didn't tell me she won a mile and a half. I don't know. I think she run over 6. She maybe thought she wanted a mile, but she just got better and better with every run.
Yeah.
And she's lovely to be around. She's sweet, and she's everything you'd want. I would love to be riding her.
Yeah. You prefer to ride? I mean, of the 2 horses with the best chance, she's the standout.
Or by a mile, yeah. Yeah. You know, she's a classy filly. And obviously, everything goes to Epsom for the classics. They're all classy, but she's super classy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Exciting. Talking about Desert Flower. Kieren, I was messaging you last night talking about there are a whole host of subjects that we could talk to you about. Obviously, time is always a bit short, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about the modern day jockeys. You watching them, obviously, you rode with quite a few of them who are still going. But when you look at the standard of jockeyship now, what's your overall impression? Who are the ones that you like? What do you think about the quality that you see?
It's funny, yeah, you said about, I understand when I come in, you don't know whether they were, or because when you look back at the videos and you see the likes of Joe Mercer and guys like that, they were great. But when you had the likes of Wally Swinburne, Pat Hedry, Steve Cotton, Lester Pickett, John Reid, you know, Ray Cochran, Frankie, you know, there were jockeys that rode tight, and you know, it was different. And today, you know, obviously, don't have to say anything about Ryan Moore because everyone knows how good he is. You know, he's probably the best in the world. Well, I'd have him probably the best in the world. And then we've got William James Doyle, and you know, the Oisin Murphy. I think Oisin is mustard. You know, he just, you know, to be able to win a championship by that far with, I'm not saying he doesn't have a job, but
yeah,
I think William has the best job.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where his work is to be with Charlie and that, and then he'd pick up around it. So he's not really, you know, which if I had, you know what I mean, I had choice of, do you want to be champion jockey or do you want to be riding? But obviously Charlie sends horses around the world. I prefer to be going around the world than winning championships, and that's what William is doing.
When you talk about William, you say he's got the perfect job because he rides for Charlie, picks up. And the other thing you were keen to talk about today when we spoke last night was about workloads that the modern day jockey has now. And we've known in the last, or since COVID, jockeys can only ride at 1 meetings, etc. There are no saunas. I mean, do you think it's as tough or any easier, or what's your view on what the jockeys have to go through these days? We started the programme off talking about it today.
Yeah, but when I said about how tough for jockeys, they don't actually have it tough. And you know, when I was riding, I probably thought I had it tough because I was 2 meetings and I had the ways. And the ones that have it tough are the ones that leading up the horses and have to do, you know, about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and muck them out, and rain, hail or snow, you know, getting home late at night. You mean you're at Wolverhampton on a Saturday night. Last race at what, 9, half 9, no home till after midnight, probably after getting drowned out wet. You know, they have it tough. The jockeys don't. The problem with the jockeys is they don't have a weigh room, or they don't have a sauna in the weigh room, which is ridiculous. And they're all saying, oh, we're looking after the jockeys, but the saunas in most hotels or whatever, it's just difficult to try and get to here to get them. I think the reason why the racecourses don't want the saunas, because it saves their electric bill. It's the only thing I would think of. Why wouldn't I want them in?
Well, didn't they also say as well that jockeys, maybe for their own health and safety, shouldn't be?
But they're going to go into. They're going to go before they go racing. They're going to go into one of them, or else they're going to start like I used to. I couldn't go into a sauna unless I wanted to go in for the shave or just. spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes waiting for what I had to ride. But I used to put the plastic suit on, the sweatsuit. I'd go for a run or give him a squash, have my car running with the heaters on, and then I'd drive to the races. Not so bad when you're only going, when I was in Malton. Later in life I never had to do it, only early days. But if I was driving with, say, to Thirsk or Beverly or whatever, that was handy. I remember going to Ayr. It's 3.5 hours from Malton. I thought I was going to die. I nearly passed out in the car. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the jockeys are doing that now. They have to do that. That is dangerous. Not only for the jockey, it's dangerous for the people on the road. I don't know how I got to Ayr without passing out. But it's what you do.
It's still extraordinary to hear stories like that. Kieren, you're going to hang around with us, aren't you? You're not going to go anywhere. Stay with us to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Still some significant points to talk about. So thank you. Yeah. Always fascinating. It really is, listening to Kieren Fallon.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.